And then place the aluminum foil on a cookie sheet. So I have my square bag shape. Take the sausage and make a circle inside the bag, just like this. Then add the vegetables. You can put them right in the middle, in between the sausage. With all the ingredients in the bag, we're going to fold it closed. Just fold up all the sides so that it's sealed. So you have a little pouch. And you're going to bake this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. So after 30 to 45 minutes, take it out of the oven. Open up the foil, and you'll have to let it cool. So you'll know that everything is done when the potatoes are soft. Just poke them with a fork. And then every person would get one sausage and some vegetables. So we'll just try some. To view the recipe for Italian sausage with vegetables, visit brockporttv.com.
Speaking of sports, the Eagles Nest has a lot for us this week. Let's take it over to them.
Welcome to Eagles Nest. I'm your host, Brennan Cottrill. Tonight on the program, we have a special segment for you. RJ Santillo sat down with defensive lineman Chris Kohler to hear his story about losing his best friend over the summer and how Chris has helped Zach's memory live on. We've also got your sports update with Brian Mazurowski. And last but not least, we've got the first Eagles Nest Top 10 Countdown of the year. All this and more coming up tonight on the Eagles Nest. Tonight on the program, we have a special segment. RJ Santillo is out at Bob Boozer Field with Chris Kohler of the men's football team.
Out here at Bob Boozer Field, and joining me right now is senior defensive end for the Brockport Golden Eagle football team, Chris Kohler. And Chris, we know what you've done on the field and a lot of accolades that have come with it. But today, talking about something a lot bigger than football, and I'm sure you would wholeheartedly agree with that. You experienced something about 9 months ago, January 24th, 2010, that not many people want to deal with, or for that point have to deal with, especially at your age. And that is partaking in the funeral of your best friend. And talking about Lance Corporal Zach Smith. And Zach unfortunately died in the line of duty in Afghanistan about 9 months ago. And the articles and papers will tell you what kind of kid Zach was, what kind of man he was. Who was Zach Smith to Chris Kohler?
Zach to me was somebody that I grew up with. I mean, I knew him since since he was a newborn. I'm a year older than Zach, but we went to the same daycare. But when Zach was there, and as a young kid, I mean, he was just my best friend right off the bat. Somebody that I grew up with, and when I was about 12 years old, I think his family moved the street behind me, so we were always close, always going to school together, always playing sports together, just doing everything together. And Zach to me was just the ultimate best friend, just the person that I think everybody should have as a friend.
And you mentioned growing up, right from diapers all the way to high school. You did everything together. You played football together, right through Hartwell High School. And I mean, you talk about life decisions. You come to Brockport to play football. He goes to the Marines. A very big decision. What was that conversation like when he decided he was going to the Marines, you were going to Brockport, that last time you saw each other in person before you both departed your separate ways?
I think I always knew about Zach going to the Marines. He'd always kind of hinted it towards the end of his high school career. I think Zach could have gotten into a college if he wanted to, but school wasn't, his favorite thing, just like any other high school kid. But he would always think about the Marines and always kind of talk about it. And it was something he wanted to do. His uncle was a Marine, and I think he kind of looked up to his uncle Matt. And the more Zach grew up, you could just see it in himself. I think he was cut out for the Marines. A lot of kids aren't going into college or whatever they do after high school. I think you get a lot of kids that just don't know what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. But Zach was the kind of kid that always knew what he wanted to do, and he knew right from the start he wanted to be a Marine. So.
And I mentioned January 24th. Go back to January 24th, about 9 months ago, and Sunday morning, you get a phone call from a friend. Did you know something was wrong immediately?
Yeah, I could just kind of tell by the tone of their voice that something was wrong. I didn't know what was going on, but they just said, I'm here for you if you need anything. And so I knew something terrible had happened. First thing that came to my mind was family. I just hoped something didn't happen to my family. And I called my mom and dad, and they knew of nothing. They said, I haven't heard anything that's going on. But you could also tell that they knew something, something happened by the tone of my voice, because I was real concerned. So after, calling a few of my friends who had already knew, they broke the news to me. And it's definitely, I hope it is the hardest day of my life when I look back on it. And it was just something you never want to hear. You never want to get that phone call, especially with a best friend. But it's, but I went right back home, and I was there for his family, and that's all we could do at that point. So.
And fast forward now to August. Mid-August, you and I actually had a conversation, and you mentioned that you were going to switch your jersey number, 95 to 56, 56 being the number Zach wore in high school. You walk in every Saturday, you see that jersey, that number, hanging on the rack before you get ready for every game. That's much more than a number, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's really special to be able to wear that number. And for 3 years, I'd worn number 95, and I decided this past spring that I was going to switch and just wear his number that he wore in high school. And for me, wearing number 56 is just more about just playing with the passion that Zach had, the passion for football, the passion for life. Special to wear that.
First home game, 2010. A couple weeks after he decided, I'm going to wear this jersey, practice, games, and about 20 yards that way, big sack at the end of the game against Westcott to ice the game away. Your first reaction, unlike a lot of times where you've done it many times, you go over, you celebrate with your teammates, your guys on the sideline, point up to the sky.
In that moment, the first thing I thought of was Zach, and it wasn't predetermined. I didn't think about what I was going to do. It was the first thing that came to my mind was just that was for him. But like you said, I've realized the past 4 years that we've had our ups and downs with football. We've struggled quite a bit, but it makes you realize that it is just a game, and you're blessed to be out here, and you're lucky to have your health. You're lucky to play with 100 other friends. Not a lot of people get to do this. Not a lot of people get to play college sports or anything like that in that matter. But it was